Okay, backstory, I'm a cop. Been doing it a few years now. I've seen a lot of fucked up things for working in a small town. I work in Springwell. Names will be changed. I don't know what to think about it. For any locals, they can agree. Springwell tends to be attributed to an upper middle class mailing address, but the borough itself, my jurisdiction, is like the fucking Bermuda Triangle. I worked last night. Finally have calmed my nerves enough through a few catnaps and a fuck ton of whiskey and cigarettes to type this out. The night felt strange from the start. We hit the ground running when we started at 1800. I was in for a long 12-hour shift. It seems like all our normal crazies and assholes were out and about. Suicide threat, domestic, bullshit disturbance calls, the norm. But thing is, last night wasn't a full moon. Yeah, call me superstitious, but when there's a full moon, the craziest shit happens. Anyway, I digress. It's just shy of 0300. I barely had time to scarf down a meal on the run, pull into our local Wawa outside my jurisdiction, and grab my normal late night feast of coffee, jerky, sweet tarts, and if I'm feeling a bit healthy, an applesauce pouch. I'm about to get back in my car when my ear squelches.
5313, suspicious activity reported in the area of West 5th and North Valley Forge. Lights are on in the factory and movement was seen inside.
Well, fuck me, that's a half block away from an abandoned steel factory. I think I've been inside maybe once so far. 5313, I copy en route, and I hopped in my car and started on my way. I wasn't hauling ass or anything. I didn't think it would be anything crazy. Plenty of times we get these calls, and it's the property owner or a cleaner or something. 5313, other units can disregard. I'm about a minute out. I'll notify if I need another car when on scene. Stupid rookie mistake. I'm not even really a rookie anymore, with 5 years on. But I was complacent. I arrived on scene, and the place was dark. Like dark. No lights on, and the street lights on the street were out. I had just been down the street not even an hour earlier, and they were fine. Fucking kids and their fucking pellet guns. Cannot wait for school to start, I muttered under my breath. 5313 on location, roll another unit, nothing showing. Static. 5313 to county, do you copy? Static. Fuck it. I typed a message to county asking for another car and saying I was heading in the main warehouse. As soon as I hefted the gate up and open, I got a chill down my spine. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. There's a common belief as a cop. When you get a gut feeling that something is off, it is. I drew my weapon. A Glock 22, 40 caliber, and slid my finger down the slide to the light. I didn't kick it on yet. My night vision was kicking in. I'd be able to see movement and didn't want to give away my position. I checked my watch. Backup should be here by now. It takes 10 minutes tops to get here from one side of town to the other in normal traffic. At this time, it should take less than 4. Watch read 02:59. Okay, all of 2 minutes out. Suddenly, I heard a sound, a dull thrum. Not mechanical, almost musical. Like a dull horn or something. I know I should have waited for my backup, but my curiosity got the best of me, and I started moving in. The closer I got, the louder the horn sound got, and then something got really fucked up, and I heard a voice. Muffled, far away, but chanting, and it wasn't English. I don't know what the fuck language it was. It sounded like Latin, but not, if that makes sense. I slowly and methodically took the steps down towards the basement, the source of the sound. It got louder with each step, but somehow it was off. It's not like I was hearing the sound with my ears. The noise was in my head, but it intensified with each step. At this point, shit got dark. Real dark. Darker than dark. I double flicked my gun light so it locked in place on a strobe. Makes things slightly harder to track for me, but it's completely blinding and disorienting to anyone the light flashes on. I tried to mentally retrace the layout. and I remember the cafeteria in the middle of the basement. The only way to insulate the food and the men from the toxins being used in the forges and such. I made my way to the door, and again, tried to radio for the location of my backup. Static. I checked my watch and it read 0300. Odd. I had been on scene for more than a minute, at least 5. Backup should have been there. County should have called for status at least a minute ago. Nothing. I make my way to the door and see a shadow through the window. I push the door in and yell, "Police! Don't move!" and level my weapon at his back. He was wearing a black suit, white pinstripes, faded, worn. His hair was slicked back, and what I could see of the back of his neck, he was pale. Too pale. The movie Powder, pale. He slowly turned around, hands up, and I saw his face. Its face. I don't fucking know anymore. He was so pale. His eyes. The irises and pupils were black. Blacker than black. The blackest I'd ever seen. It was like looking into oblivion. He smiled at me the creepiest fucking smile I had ever seen, and suddenly the chanting and thrumming in my head stopped. I could see the illuminated outline of my watch. It still showed 0300 hours. He kept his smile, and then his face contorted into hate and rage. He began shouting at me at the top of his lungs the chant that I heard in my head. It was almost Latin, but not. Suddenly there was a pain in my head and my back. My shoulders felt like they were on fire. My back felt like I had 1,000 white-hot knives carving me from the inside out. The pain was too much. The room started to light up. My vision got hazy. Everything turned white. And then I was out. I was woken up by my partner Reed. 5326 to county, I have a 5313, start EMS. I felt fine. EMS? What the fuck? I'm fine. I sat up. I looked down. My shirt was in tatters, as was my vest. My fucking Kevlar vest. The ceramic plate had left an indent in my chest, but the back of my vest was shredded. I sat up and asked Reed what happened, and he told me that he got here shortly after 0300 and found me like this. I asked what time it was, and he told me 0313. I checked my watch, and it read 0300. The man was gone. Reed never saw him. All I could see around me was a single black feather. I don't know what the fuck all this means. I was diagnosed with a slight concussion, but my back was fine. X-rays and MRIs were all negative for damage. Nothing on my skin to show what had happened to my vest or shirt. I'm fucking shaking. Those fucking eyes, like staring into oblivion. Do any of you have any idea what this could have been? What might have happened? I mean, fuck. I'm trained to handle dangerous and scary situations, but I can't even make sense of what happened. Please help. Please.
Number 2.
My partner Josh and I leaned against the trunk of the car, sipping coffee out of styrofoam cups. Earlier on, at about 10, we'd picked up our suspect on his way home. He lived alone, so nobody would miss him unless he missed a couple of shifts down at his workplace. An informant had let it leak that he was a low-level flunky in a contraband cigarette operation. Nobody important, but we were hoping to get a couple of names out of him and work our way up the chain. We decided to work on this one off the books. We weren't bad police officers on the take or anything, but we had a couple of tricks that we'd use on the more reluctant criminals we came across. Our suspect was a big man, maybe 6'3", easily 250 pounds. We could tell from the whine in his voice that he would probably give us what we needed, but we figured on pulling one of our tricks on him just to make sure that he wouldn't hold anything back. So at about 11 o'clock at night, we stripped him naked, handcuffs still on, and tied him to a tombstone in the middle of our favorite cemetery. Normally, we drive our car about a half-mile back to the entrance of the cemetery and walk half the way back so we could keep an eye on the chap. If we picked up the right person for the treatment, he'd be begging to be cut loose in exchange for any information we wanted. Simple, effective, and it saved us a shit ton of paperwork. The cemetery is a pretty place at night. Both my partner and I had spent many an hour watching our suspects piss themselves in fear with our night vision binoculars while downing a cup of coffee. We'd long since run out of ghost stories to scare each other, although the suspects kept coming. We flipped a coin to decide who would play good cop this time around. I won the toss. Bro, I'll bet you this one's pissed himself. Josh handed the binoculars over to me. I took a look. The man seemed to be whipping himself into a frenzy. His head swung from side to side, and I saw flashes as the moon glinted off ropes of spittle swinging from his mouth. We're going to have to call an early timeout on this one. We don't want him hurting himself. Josh sighed and got up. So, you're Officer Laurie, and I'm Officer Burnett this time? He asked. I nodded. As a precaution, we'd introduce ourselves using fake names, picked off the first police movie on HBO for the month. August was Bad Boys Month. It was a little inside joke for the both of us. We trudged over to our suspect. He had probably heard us coming and stopped threshing about. He just sat there, quivering, with his limp, greasy hair covering his face. Josh starts up his classic bad cop routine. Now, Sonny, there's two ways. No, the man interrupts. Both of us stopped in our tracks. The whine was gone from his voice. Hell, it didn't even sound like his voice at all, but like that of an old woman. He swings his head up, glaring at us through strands of hair. Something is wrong with his face. His eyes, instead of being crazed with fear, are now gazing up at us with a wry humor, as though he's in complete control. In contrast, his jaw works up and down uselessly, as though he seems unused to his own face. A thin line of drool leaks down his chin. This vessel is mine now. Let me go. I have work to do. Again, that eerie old woman's voice coming out from the twitching jaw. Josh gives me a dark look. It's obvious he thinks that our friend's screwing with us. He draws his hand back and lets a full-force backhand slap fly. The crack of the slap is very loud in the still morning. It's only then that I realize that the cemetery is absolutely silent. The crickets and other miscellaneous noises of the night have died down. It's an eerie and unearthly feeling. The suspect's head did not budge an inch. Josh steps back, rubbing his hand, puzzled at the newfound strength of the suspect. A trickle of blood leaked cut on the suspect's cheek, probably from one of Josh's rings. We only saw it for a second before his tongue flicks out to lick it away. I blink. The cut was halfway up his cheek. There is no way his tongue could have possibly reached it. The suspect begins to giggle softly under his breath, again in that raspy old lady's voice. Kathy still yells out Matt's name when you're fucking her, you know. The old lady voice atones. What the hell? Only a few people in the department would know about Josh's latest girlfriend. Even fewer would know the name of her ex-husband. I see Josh advancing, with murder in his eyes. I quickly grabbed the guy's throat, hoping to shut him up before Josh did something stupid. His eye locked on mine. Liz misses you. She's all alone in the dark down here with us. You really shouldn't have left her. You took the one good thing she had and snuffed it out. Might as well have fed her those pills yourself. Liz was my second girlfriend, self-destructive. We were really serious, thinking of getting married when I broke it off because I was too scared to commit. She had her own demons, drank, and some hard drugs on the side. She killed herself 2 months after we split up. There was no way this thing could have known about my past. I hadn't told anybody in the department about that secret. I drew my fist back and stuck out at his mouth. Too late. I saw that mouth open wide, far wider than humanly possible. There's a sick tearing sound as the skin of the side of his mouth tears. My fist catches on his teeth, and then his mouth snaps shut, and there is nothing but pain. He's taken half the skin off my knuckles. As I stumble back, he rises to his feet with a snapping noise as the rope gives way. His forehead strikes my chin. I lose balance and barrel into Josh, and both of us crumble in a heap. The last we hear of our suspect is the crashing sound of him bounding off through the undergrowth. What the fuck just happened? I asked Josh. There's no way he could have guessed all that shit. Eminently practical, Josh tells me to put that out of my mind and come out with a coherent story about how my handcuffs went missing so that both of us could write it up. I'm not posting this because our suspect has gone missing. He hasn't shown up at work for a week. The stakeout at his house is equally fruitless, and none of his friends know where he's gone. I'm not posting this because Josh hasn't turned up for work for 2 days. I'm posting this because this morning, when I reached for my alarm clock, I could touch something cold. As I blinked the sleep from my eyes, I realized what it was I was touching. It was my set of handcuffs on the bedside table.